Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Martel Rolling, the same cast, different day podcast. Hope you all is doing well. I know my face is like it looks so naked because I was using a Manscaped beard trimmer, and I had to set on the wrong setting, so it cut it way too low than what I wanted. But it's fine. How is everybody doing? So thank you all for tuning into this episode. There are a few things to talk about. First of all, hopefully everybody went out and voted today. Um, this election is so important. All eyes were on Wisconsin, where we live at, due to the fact that if Dave or whatever his name is, I can't think of his name, is elected in, he got the power to basically overturn the election and make Donald Trump the president of the United States. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Um, they had abortion on the ballot. I believe I talked about this a few weeks ago. Abortion was on the ballot as a question. Cash bail was a question on there. So basically, if somebody's committed of like a violent crime, they will no longer be able to bail out until they trial. There's a question on there about people who receive like food stamps and things of that nature, part of the SNAP program, where if they are a able-bodied person, that they will be required to go actively look for work in order to receive food stamps. So that was on there also, along with some other stuff. So it is very important that you guys want to vote. Hopefully you guys went out and voted. One of the reasons why elections are so important. So in Tennessee, there were these legislators who were elected to, represent the people who elect them, the area that elected them. And the Republicans are upset because these were Democrats, and they're trying to set a hearing date. So by the time this episode comes out, it'll be the day of the hearing. For the audio listeners, it'll be the day of the hearing, and basically to vote these people out, which I think is complete bull crap. It's complete bull crap. It's something that shouldn't be happening. They took away their badge access and everything, so they couldn't get into the Capitol building. All these other kind of things, like so Republicans can't have their way. They're trying to fight to have their way. And one of the things I also wanted to talk about was the mass shooting that happened in Tennessee, Nashville. It's sad that happened. It's sad that these kids have to live in fear all the time, that they cannot go to school and feel safe. I mean, it's already bad enough the kids we got to deal with bullying and all that other kind of stuff. But on top of that, you got to worry about going to school to die. So in Nashville, they was asking lawmakers to do gun reform. And the lawmakers over the mass shooting that happened. And the lawmakers basically told them, no, we're not going to do any gun reform. We're not going to pass any laws to make it harder for people to get these assault rifles, Army grade rifles, basically. And they said, no, we're not going to make that illegal. And in the time of, I believe this whole, what was it? The whole time that this whole mass shooting thing was happening, which is like 14 or 15 minutes or so, 152 shots were fired. 152. So that is a lot. So they don't want to pass these laws to make schools safer. So this past Friday at I believe 10:14 a.m. I believe that's when the first call went out for help in Nashville at Nashville for the school shooting. And so this past Friday at 10:14 a.m., the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, these students walked out of school and they walked to the Capitol building and protested. And that's when these other people, legislators who were there, Democrats, they protested with them. And then now they're trying to, on Thursday, once again, to try to get them kicked out of their position, which is not fair. It's awful. And it's just crazy how much craziness they're trying to do. So, these kids, they're fighting for, they believe, they don't want things to be like how it was in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And one thing I did here, wait, we backtrack. So these kids went to the state capitol and protest. The Republicans were trying to say, I'm alive. The Republican Party was trying to say that they were trying to do like what they did in January. It was like they was trying to riot. It was an insurgent or whatever they was trying to call it. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, that's the Mountain Dew. They were trying to call it an insurgent or whatever it is what they were trying to do with these that happened when at the Capitol when Donald Trump lost the election. They was trying to go up there and whatever. Um, that's what they said these kids were trying to do. At one point in time, did any of the children get violent? They went to a public hearing, which if they go to it's like an area at the top that goes around, and it's like a balcony. They can look down on these legislators, pass laws, do whatever it said to do, argue over the bills. It's open to the public. They have the right to be there. They have the right to go there, and they did. And when they went there and they protested to try to make their voices heard, like, hey, we want to feel safer schools, make schools safer. And these Republicans are still saying, no, we're not going to make schools safer. And they didn't like that the people were there protesting. They Mad Max. The Democrats pulled out like a megaphone and was protesting with them. So yeah, people are sick of you guys. So when they called the recess or whatever, the kids politely left, went out to the gala or the lobby area, or they went back outside and they protested and they protested. And it wasn't just like high schoolers. There were middle school kids there. Elementary school students were there. There were, LGBT people there. You saw them with pride flags and trans flags, and you saw them with signs for, to make schools safer, pass gun laws, all these other kind of things. Like, you guys are not doing nothing but sitting in office and passing hate laws, and that is all that is happening. You're passing hate laws, and somebody asked. I was online and I heard somebody ask. They kept on saying "Make America Great Again." It's like Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again." And they had said, "When has America ever been great for Black people? Tell me when America's ever been have been great for Black people." Because if I'm not mistaken, between the 1900s and I say 1900, we were slaves up until like what 1860 something, and we'll still some of us even know they were freed slaves until years later. And what 19 probably about I say about what like the 1890s is when y'all recognize Black men, because Black women or even white women still wasn't recognized as people, it seemed like to me. And from 1900s to 1950 in the South, you guys was just walking around hanging Black people because they whistled at a white woman or was attracted to a white woman, or y'all feel like, or y'all had segregation, like y'all segregated yourself from a segregation, which didn't end until like what the 1960s, and which then you guys was just had the Ku Klux Klan. You're running around, you were hanging Black people left and right. And then came the 70s, which I felt like was when drugs were introduced into the communities, where the crack cocaine and all that kind of stuff was introduced. I mean, some people who lived through the 70s would say, for Black people, it was a good time for them, but that's because they were all on drugs. And then there came the 80s. I don't know, it's like things took a turn in the 80s. I'm trying to think, because it was the crack epidemic in the 80s. Yes, it was crack. It was crack and AIDS epidemic in the 80s, which eradicated the homosexual community, the LGBTQ community in the 80s. And then for the ones who wasn't part of that community, you guys introduced drugs to try to wipe them out. And then the 90s came. Well, like 90s is mostly gun violence stuff, like was the gang banging? Like I know they gang banged in like the 80s. You know what I'm trying to say. But also I feel like early 90s, that was still a lot of the crack era, A lot of people were doing crack and having babies and stuff like that. You know, I feel like the mid '90s is kind of where the crack babies kind of died off. I'm so happy I wasn't one of the crack babies, but that's when the crack baby started to die off. But it's just think like through history, like when has America ever been great for Black people? Like throughout time, America has been nothing but suppressing Black people and Indians and Mexicans. Like your past, y'all literally made it in Tennessee. Y'all made it legal for a person to say, you know what, I don't agree with you being a Mexican or a Black man or a Mexican woman or a Black woman marrying this white man or Black woman. You know what I mean? White woman or white man. If I don't agree with that, then I'm not gonna allow you guys to get married, which I think is bullshit. It's serious bullshit. So it's when you think about it, America has never been good, never been great, never been great for Black people. So when you hear "Make America Great Again," who are you making it great for? Is it not for Black people? Not for the Mexicans? Hell, probably not even for Asians or Chinese people, Vietnamese, Hmong. It's not for them. For white men. And I don't understand why you guys are filled with so much hate, because it's crazy. Because you look at the parents of some of these Gen Zs out here, and white parents, I should say, the white parents of the Gen Zs out here, and I bet it just blow their mind how much their kids look at them and be like, why are you the way how you are? Like, why are you racist? Why are you this? Why are you that? I don't know. It has to be weird. And I saw this one thing. It was like the millennials' voices had to be silent for the Gen Z Alpha, the Gen Zs and Alpha generation can speak. And I thought about it like, you know what, for us millennials, like, because we have to deal with Gen X, the Gen X generation, and the Boomer generation, and the Silent generation, and over the course of our lives, the Silent generation and the Baby Boomer generation has been controlling this country for too long. And recently, we saw millennials getting into politics and stuff like that. But now we're starting to see the Gen Zs get into politics now. And I feel like with the millennial politicians and the Gen Z politicians coming together, I feel a shift and change coming. And I believe in this shift and change in a good way. And it won't be that struggle no more. Like it's going to take some time. But I'm starting to feel like that silent generation, which people were born in like the 30s and 40s, and a baby boomer generation are slowly losing their power and their control and trying to keep people segregated, keep people away from each other, because they're trying to keep the races away from each other. And I feel like that's coming to the end. Let people be who they want to be. Let people love who they want to love. Why does it bother you? Because people don't want to live up to your 1960s and 50s ways to put fear into a race and control them. And now that you're losing that control, you're trying to pass all these laws, as many laws as you can, like especially for your silent generation, like you damn near at the end of your life. What do you care about what happens on this earth? Because I bet your own grandkids look at you and like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? So the hates need to stop. We need to protect this next generation. We need to protect this next generation. And with that being said, I'm gonna go into final thoughts. Like I said, my final thought is we need to protect this generation. We need to stand up for each other. We need to make sure we're going out and vote, making sure our voices are being heard. I get sick and tired of hearing people say my vote don't matter, or voting is not, it don't mean nothing to go vote. And you had so many people who marched and died and been arrested and all these other kind of things and fought for us to have the right to vote. Fought for us to be able to sit in the same classroom as a white person. So they fought for us to be able to ride on and get a sit down on any seat on the bus. You're spitting on the legacy that they made, or the legacy they built, the struggles that they went through, the harsh times they went through. Some of them died for you to better have them rights, and you don't want to do something that simply go vote. Get it together. So, with that being said, we haven't worked on no episodes yet for well, we have one, but I don't think I'm going to use that content from that for the after set part of the podcast, which is a subscription, which is $4.99 a month. Um, I will let you guys know when those episodes are available to check out. So make sure you guys go be looking out for that. Don't forget to head over to repsports.com and use code Martel1 to receive 5 to 10% off your purchase. And then don't forget to head over to habitsnewyork.com and use code Anthony4 to receive 20% off your purchase. Thank you all for choosing to stream this podcast and on whatever you listen to this podcast and on the audio version. Thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who goes and watch the video version of the podcast and who come and hangs out with us live and where they can watch the live feed of us doing this podcast on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you all who support this podcast. I've been seeing the streaming numbers on I've been seeing the streaming numbers, you guys streaming the podcast, the audio version of that, and I thank you so much for that support. I'll see you next time on the next episode of Same Cast, Different Day podcast. Have a good one.